What is up, everybody? Louie back here again. Got a really fun night of fights. UFC Nashville at bantamweight. It's a classic high-level bantamweight showdown. You got Corey the Sandman Sandhagen at number 4 taking on Rob Font, number 7 on short notice. Was supposed to be Nurmagomedov, but this is a fun fight too. Huge opportunity for both guys. Corey Sandhagen might get a title shot with an impressive victory. Rob Font can make a big statement and get back on track, get right back to the top of the heap if he can take out Sandhagen. And then in the co-main event at 115 women's strawweight, you got Jessica Andrade, number 5, looking to bounce back against Tatiana Suarez, number 10, making her strawweight return from flyweight. It's been like 3 or 4 years since she's fought in this weight class. She's at number 10 right now. She's looking to come back with a vengeance for the title. Big opportunity for each lady. And then you got Kennedy Nzechukwu, got a big matchup for himself against Dustin Jacoby. Might get right around the 15 mark if he can get an impressive victory. And then you got Diego Lopez making his return off of that short notice impressive performance against Evloev, taking on Gavin Tucker. Gavin Tucker coming off a couple-year-long layoff. So it's an interesting card. A lot of people making their returns. A lot of stakes in that respect. Some good fights. Let's get right into it. 125 pounds men's flyweight. Ode Osborne taking on UFC newcomer Asu Albayev. Ode Osborne took on Charles Johnson his last fight. In the first round, he landed some leg kicks and some jabs. Landed a step in 1-2, and then he kind of backs out, but then he eats a hook on the retreat. Then he gets taken out on the body lock. And then he lands some jabs and some 1-2s at range, able to establish that range again. Then in the second round, he's able to catch some kicks, and he looks for the straight shots off of that, but then he eats a couple elbows in the clinch. He's able to defend the clinches, though, and kind of reverse on the fence. Good clinch battling there. He's able to cut him off against the fence, but then he eats some knees and some straights whenever he's circling on the outside. And then in the third round, he's able to initiate some clinches. He's able to stuff a couple takedown attempts. He's able to get around his back standing, but he's not able to get his leg in. Can't really do much there. Then he's able to get that snatch single takedown. Can't do a whole lot with it, though. And then they both kind of just started landing some hooks at range to kind of throw at each other. And a pretty close fight, you know. It could have went either way. I kind of thought Charles Johnson got it, but it was competitive. Then Asu Albayev took on Ken Manigat in Brave at CF, excuse me. Asu, in the first round, he landed a spinning back kick, and he gets a double leg takedown off the fence. Pretty powerful. And then he gets right in the side control, starts going to work with some ground and pound. Love to see that type of work. Then in the second round, he misses with an overhand. By then, he's able to get double unders. And then he's able to get the trip takedown, gets him full guard, and he's able to transition to half guard. Keeps on with that ground and pound. He's able to take his back, gets a rear naked choke submission with only one hook in. So the guy's powerful, he's slick, and he realizes his opportunities. Asu minus 190, Ode Osborne plus 160. I'm going to go with Asu here. Don't love the line, but, Ode Osborne, he got knocked out by Tyson Nam, and he had a close fight with Charles Johnson. I thought he kind of lost. Asu, new young guy making his debut, doesn't have anything to lose. He's his last fight, he's taking care of the guys he's supposed to take care of. Ode Osborne, solid test for him, but Ode Osborne's not a world beater by any means. Minus 190, don't love that. But I'm going to go with the new guy. I'm going to take Asu on this one. I think he gets it done. Second fight on the card, 145 pounds, men's featherweight. You got Sean Woodson making his return, taking on Dennis Bazooka. Sean Woodson took on Luis Saldana his last fight in a very weird fight, if you want to say that. In the first round, he presses forward, looks for some jabs, but then he gets clipped with a couple counter hooks. He's able to land a lead counter hook, though, with that extremely long reach. But then he gets dropped with a check hook off of a step-in jab. And then he gets dropped again with a jab whenever he's coming in. And then Luis Saldana knees him in the head on the ground. The fight should have been over there, but Luis Saldana has negative ring IQ, so they keep fighting. In the second round, he lands a step-in jab off of his hook. And then he lands some jabs and some 1-2s. He's able to get to the clinch from there. Then but he gets taken out of the double whenever he's stepping in to throw the 1-2. But then he's able to get some kind of, it's called a buggy choke on the ground. It wasn't super tight, but it was enough where Luis Saldana couldn't do much. And it looked good for him. Don't really know how he'd score that, but he's got some tricks off his back. Then in the third round, he's looking for some lunge straight shots, and he's able to slip the overhand, land a counter hook, and he's able to stuff the double leg attempt. Has a pretty decent third round. The fight ends up being a draw because of the point deduction, but I thought Sean Woodson should have lost that one, and I took some massive damage early. And then Dennis Bazooka took on Solson, Abonikov, and CFFC. In the first round, he lands a jump knee, but then he gets caught and taken down into side control. But he's able to get up his back real quick, but he's able to get up from there. So good, solid stand up. Then he stalks him with some jabs, and he looks for some overhands, but he misses the jump knee. And then he kind of misses with his wide hooks. He's kind of swinging in air a little bit. Then he's able to hit a switch sit on the single, and he's able to get around his back. Tries to go for the rear naked choke, no hooks. Can't really get it, but solid attempt. Then back on the feet, he drops him with some knees from the tie clinch inside the pocket. Then in the second round, he gets right back to the tie clinch, and he lands some nasty knees to the body. He's able to stuff the single leg attempt, and then he takes his back and gets a rear naked choke submission with a figure four. Does it all properly, had it locked in. He wasn't going anywhere. Solid technique. Dennis Bazooka plus 145, Sean Woodson minus 175. I'm going to go with Dennis Bazooka. He's an underdog. He's a new guy. He's got something to prove. Sean Woodson, a solid test. Sean Woodson took a lot of damage his last fight. And how long can he keep cutting weight? He's 6'2 at 145. And I just think the new guy's going to get it done. I think Dennis Bazooka has all the upside. I'm going to go with him plus 145. Dennis Bazooka, the Bazooka. Third fight on the main card at flyweight. 125 pounds, Cody Durden taking on Jake Hadley. This should be a fun one. Cody Durden on a little bit of a winning streak here, and so is Jake Hadley. So, each guy wants to get a victory to get the next step up into flyweight, maybe try to get into the rankings. Cody Durden took on Charles Johnson his last fight. In the first round, he lands some leg kicks. Trips him with a leg kick off a leg kick, and he rushes with the clinch, gets the backpack, gets a nice rear naked choke attempt, but then he drops him with the leg kick and over his counter uppercut. Then he gets a snatch single high C. Snatch single, goes to the high C crackdown position. He's able to get it like a bow step takedown, you want to call it, from the high cross position. Pretty slick. Didn't use a ton of energy to get that either. Takedown's coming easily. In the second round, he gets a clinch, hits a pass by, gets around his back, and he pulls him down to the mat. And he's able to take his back, gets that figure four locked up. But then he can't hold it for too long though. But then he loses it, and Charles pushes off the fence, but Charles is pretty explosive. But then he eats a couple hooks to the body, and then he gets clipped with some hooks when they go in the pocket. Then in the third round, he starts ripping the body in the pocket, starts shooting singles, just gets him. He's a little more tired, but he keeps that pressure on Charles Johnson, breaks the rhythm. Then he starts getting clipped with a couple jabs though, but then he's able to get the underhook and then a knee pick, and then he's able to get the backpack again, right back to the figure four, and locks it up, and, has a definitive third round, I guess, or, put some icing on the cake. And then Jake Hadley took on Malcolm Gordon his last fight in the first round. He rips the body off of, counters the overhand, he lands some jabs, and an uppercut to the body, drops him with that, and then gets a TKO via ground pound. So not too much from him. Malcolm ran right through Malcolm Gordon. It's a pretty good sign. Then he took on Carlos Candelario before that. In the first round, he kind of backs out of range of the jabs. Then he eats a 1-2 whenever he gets pressed in the pocket, though. Then he lands a jab, starts jabbing the head and the body, trying to establish his distance. Then he lands an overhand. Then he rips left and right to the body. So I like seeing the body work from him, and that's going to be good against a wrestler like Durden because you cannot get under the punch. Then he lands a cross and then a left hook to the body and then the head. So really good combination work there. Then in the second round, he lands some body kicks and he presses with some jabs. He lands some leg kicks, and then he pulls a triangle off of the single attempt, and he starts landing some elbows and gets a submission. So he's out of nowhere. And guess what? Cody Durden, he's been flying triangle before. So Jake Hadley minus 190, Cody Durden plus 160. A little bit of a tough one. I like Cody Durden on underdog odds. I picked against him his last fight. But here's the thing. Charles Johnson just doesn't do much whenever he gets taken down, and he doesn't have a great get-up game. Jake Hadley, we haven't seen a ton of get-up game, but, he's got a lot of those submissions off of the takedown attempts. He's tricky. He lands hard shots to the body. We'll have to see how his cardio holds up, but Cody Durden does get a little tired in the third round. I don't like the price tag, but I'm only going to go with Jake Hadley on this one. I think Cody Durden might have a really good first round early on, but I think Jake Hadley's going to keep throwing up those submission attempts. He's going to rip to the body. I think he's going to focus on that. And I think he's going to even be able to stuff a couple of takedowns. He's got to make sure Cody Durden doesn't get that backpack position on him, which I think he can. He's explosive. He's fast. And I think Cody Durden's going to be chasing him. And I think Jake Hadley is going to be able to land some counters. So I'm going to go with Jake Hadley, minus 190. Should be a fun fight, though. Fourth fight of the night, we got a fun scrap at Men's featherweight 145, Billy Quarantillo taking on Damon Jackson. Both guys coming off of knockout losses, and both guys need a win to get back on track. Should be fun. Both guys, decent paces, really funky styles. Quarantillo took on Alex Hernandez. Actually, he took on Edson Barboza, but he got knocked out pretty early on, and it's Edson Barboza. What are you going to do? Before that, he took on Alex Hernandez. Hernandez dropping down from 55 to 45. In the first round, he eats some kind of lead hooks off of his jabs, and then he gets doubled after he throws the body kick. But then back on the feet, he misses the overhand, but then he gets taken out with the duck under, gets put in an arm triangle, eats some ground and pound. Tough first round for him, but you know how Billy Q goes. He picks up as the fight goes on in the second round. He gives up his back off a jump knee, and then he gets clinched to the fence, but then he trips him off with the leg kick, and he's able to stuff the double this time, gets some underhooks, and he lands some hooks in the pocket, really lets it rip. Then he lands an uppercut at range and some straights up against the fence, but then he gets doubled off the fence, but he gets a double off the fence. He's able to reshoot, and then he's able to take his back, land some ground and pound around the back. Back on the feet, lands a hook flurry up against the fence, and then he throws some knees in there, and Alex Hernandez is just beat, and he gets TKO. He's staying TKO. That's how Billy Q does it. He stays the same pace, if not picks it up throughout the fight. Damon Jackson took on Dan Ige his last fight in the first round. He gets cut off on the cage, eats a couple straight shots. His snatch single attempt gets stuffed. Shoots from a little too far away, a little too extended. He throws some lunge hooks, but they're a little too short. He looks a little slow throwing them. Then he gets taken out the double off the fence at the end. Who would have thought that would have happened? Then in the second round, he has his back to the fence, but he's able to land some step-in leg kicks. But then he gets clinched to the fence. But then he lands a nice head kick at range when Ige is chasing him. But then he eats a hook off of a lunge in straight, kind of dipping his head. But then he eats a lead hook while he's circling as well. Then he lands a cross and then a body kick followed up with another cross. Really nice combination from him. But then he eats a check hook off of a slide-in hook and gets KO viciously. So just kind of threw his defense by the wayside toward the end of the fight, though, and Danny Ige got power. Damon Jackson plus 150, Billy Quarantillo minus 180. Going back and forth on this one. I don't know if I feel comfortable betting Billy Quarantillo at favorite money, but I just don't know about Damon Jackson. And if you're going to go cardio for cardio, I think Billy Q looks better as the fight goes on. Damon Jackson kind of looks a little sloppy as it goes on. Damon Jackson, decent, pretty good on the ground. But Billy Q, he's just shown an ability to get out of submission attempts, not really get caught in submissions. And I think Billy Q is going to be able to hit him from different angles. It's hard because they're both coming off of knockout losses, so who knows how that's going to affect the performance. I don't love it, but I'm going to go with Billy Q on this one, minus 180. I just think as the fight goes on, he's going to be able to scrap it out a little harder, but I could be wrong. But I'm going to go with Billy Q on this one. I think he gets it done somehow, some way. Fifth fight of the night, 170 pounds, men's welterweight. You got a fun one here. Two guys that like to throw hard. Jeremiah Wells taking on Carlston Harris. Jeremiah Wells took on Matt Semmelsberger's last fight. In the first round, he throws some wild hooks, but then he gets dropped with a counter hook. He's able to grab one of the single, though, and then get the clinch, and then get the takedown with the foot sweep. Lands some ground and pound at the end, but he got dropped very hard. And then in the second round, he gets dropped again with a counter hook in the pocket, like right away almost. But then he throws some wild hooks at range, and then he kind of clips him with them. Then he's able to duck the hook and get the double leg takedown off the fence, and he lands some ground and pound in full guard. Then in the third round, he's able to catch the kick and get the clinch, able to get the double off the fence right into half guard, does some ground and pound work. Honestly, I thought Matt Semmelsberger should have won that. Jeremiah definitely won the third round, and he won the second half to the first and second round, but he got dropped. And I think if you get dropped, unless you land major damage, you should lose the round. But whatever. Carlston Harris took on Jared Good in his last fight. In the first round, he lands a body kick at range. Then he lunges with a jab and then an overhand. He's in and out of range. He lands a jab and then an overhand right. He's able to land a short hook and then an uppercut in the collar tie. I like seeing stuff like that. Then they kind of back out. Then he eats some jabs whenever he's lunging in. But then in the second round, he clinches him to the fence, and then he gets a double off the fence in a half guard, pretty much for the whole round. So pretty solid on the ground. Then in the third round, he gets a double, and then he pulls the front headlock, and he's able to snap down, get around his back, gets both hooks in, then transition to full mount, back on the feet, and then he lands jab to double off the fence, and just keeps going to work. So Carlston Harris plus 105, Jeremiah Wells minus 125. Really tough one. Both guys solid wrestling ability. I just don't like Jeremiah Wells' chin. Carlston Harris, not necessarily a big power puncher, but he has his spots, and he can put flurries on guys. And Jeremiah Wells, you know, he's a little sloppy as a wrestler. I think Carlston Harris will be able to defend a lot of it. And, you know, Carlston Harris might be able to defend a shot and get a reshot and take Jeremiah down. So, you know, kind of a coin flip fight, to be honest. Carlston Harris is a slight underdog. I'm going to go with him. But I think the whole fight goes over 2.5, plus 155, not a bad one. But at plus money, I'm going to go with Carlston Harris. Sixth fight of the night at 135 pounds, men's bantamweight. You got a fun banger here. Kyler Phillips taking on Ronnie Barcelos. Ronnie Barcelos coming off of that disappointing knockout against Umar Nurmagomedov. And Kyler Phillips took a little bit of time off. He's looking to get back on track. Both guys need a win here. Should be a fun one. Two guys with fun styles. Kyler Phillips took on Marcelo Rojo his last fight. In the first round, he kind of hangs on the outside, but then he lands a step-in leg kick and a couple crosses, but then he rips the body and lands an overhand in the pocket. But then he gets rushed with the hook, but he's able to get the clinch. He lands a knee and an elbow to the head, and then he's able to get the takedown with the outside trip. But then he kind of backs up, and he lands some chuck hooks wherever he gets pressed. Then he gets a clinch, and he's able to land a foot sweep. Then in the second round, he lands some leg kicks and some jabs from the outside. But then he gets cut off on the cage and clipped with a few hooks in a combo, but he's able to circle out, gets out of danger, doesn't stay there, and just wing hooks. Then in the third round, he lands a jab, and he shoots a double, and he's able to finish it with a knee pick with that underhook, and then he's able to get the full mount, some nasty ground and pound, and then he gets the top triangle, and he goes to his back. It looks like he's about to get out of the triangle, but he has the arm bar, fully extends the arm bar. Nasty submission, really slick from him. Really good victory. And then Ronnie Barcelos took on Trevin Jones before Umar. In the first round, he stalks with some overhands, shoots him to the fence. Then he feints with an overhand. Then he's able to get the single off the fence, full mount, ground and pound, really strong first round. Then in the second round, he's able to block with his left. Then he lands a counter right hook in the pocket. Then he lands some body kicks at range, and he's able to rock him with an overhand off of a level change. Gets in a half guard, lands some ground and pound. He's able to take his back with one hook in, and just kind of stay there. And then in the third round, he pressures him to the fence. He lands some uppercuts from range, and he lands a jump, and he's able to stop the single leg attempt. Then he throws an overhand, then follows it up with a blast double, gets full mount, heavy ground and pound to end the fight. He really wanted the finish, and I like seeing stuff like that. Ronnie Barcelos plus 170, Kyler Phillips minus 205. I think this line's a little out of whack. I know Ronnie's coming off a nasty knockout, a little older, but you know, we've seen Kyler Phillips just kind of get pressured, and we've seen him, if he gets pressured too much, he doesn't throw a whole lot. He needs distance to throw his spinning stuff. And, you know, we saw that with, who was it? With Raleigh and Paiva. That fight, you know, he kind of fell off after the first round. And some guys, if they just stay in the pocket, stay tight, and just kind of throw down with them, they can beat them. So I don't like this price tag. Ronnie Barcelos can do it. I don't know how bad the knockout's going to affect him, but Ronnie Barcelos is tough as nails. Kyler Phillips, not really a knockout type of guy. And yeah, I think Ronnie Barcelos solid wrestling. I think it's going to at least cancel out Kyler's takedown attempts. Kyler might be able to catch him in a submission, but that's a chance I'm willing to take. I'm going to go with Ronnie Barcelos plus 170. First fight of the main card, 155 pounds, men's lightweight. You got a fun one here. Two guys trying to break through in the division. Ignacio Bahamondes taking on Ludovic Klein. Ignacio took on Trey Ogden his last fight. In the first round, he landed some leg kicks at range, but he looks for some straights and some crosses. Then he's able to land a leg kick, follows it up with a jab, really good at distance. Then in the second round, he lands some front kicks to the body, counter 1-2 off of his hook. And then he lands a step in, straight left, stiff straight left, kind of sets him back. Then he eats a left hook off of his jab, though. Then he eats a left straight to the head and then the body at range. Then in the third round, he lands a body kick at range, and then he switches stances, lands a couple straight shots, and then he lands some straight lefts and some leg and some head kicks there, and just kind of keeps it moving in and out. Yep. And then Ludovic Klein took on Jai Herbert his last fight. In the first round, he catches a kick, gets a single with a full guard. No ground and pound, though. Eats a couple up kicks and kind of gets hurt a little bit. Then he lands some knees in the clinch, but then he eats a knee to the head. Then in the second round, he lands a straight left and some wide hooks in the clinch battle, but he uses the underhook to control the clinch. Then in the third round, he blitzes to the clinch up against the fence, but then he gets taken down with a foot sweep in the clinch in a full guard, but then he's able to shrimp, grab the leg, and then he's able to finish with a double, but it doesn't do a whole lot either way. So Ludovic Klein plus 190, Ignacio Bahamondes minus 230. I don't know. I don't like this line at all, but a Ludovic line, I just didn't see anything out of him on the tape that would think he has a path to victory here. I think Ignacio Bahamondes is going to be able to just piece him up at range. And as long as he can defend the takedown attempts and the clinch situations, which I think he can, and I think Ignacio Bahamondes has more upside. I don't like the price tag, but I'm going to go with Ignacio Bahamondes. We'll see, though. It might be a stupid pick. We'll see. Second fight of the night, 205 pounds, men's light heavyweight. Tanner Boser, the Bulldozer, taking on Alexa Kamor. Boser, his second fight at 205. Before that, he took on Ion Cutelaba. In the first round, he lands some lunge jabs, but then he eats a counter cross. Then he lands some lunge jabs. He's able to stuff the takedown attempt, but then he gets dropped with a lunge 1-2 at range. He was blocking the overhand feint. Then he gets doubled off the fence and then just TKO'd from ground and pound up against the fence. So, but Ion Cutelaba can do that sometimes, and it was his first fight at 205. So maybe his chin was weak. And then Alexa Kamor took on Nikolai Negumereanu a couple years ago. It's been a while. But in the first round, he landed some lead hooks and some leg kicks, but then he eats a counter straight. In these circles, pumps some jabs. He lands a step in 1-2, and then he'll kind of circle out of range. And then he backs up. And he's able to land a lead uppercut, but then he kind of swings wild and misses and eats a counter cross. Then he's kind of throws some wild shots in the pocket. Then he eats an uppercut. He's able to, but then he gets taken down. The body lock gets lifted up in the air off the fence. Then he keeps getting walked down and kind of swings wild. Sometimes he lands, sometimes he doesn't. Then in the second round, he lands a left uppercut and then a right overhand right, and he gets clinched to the fence. He lands some jabs to the body, then a left hook, and then a straight right while he's backing up. His double attempt gets stuffed, and he doesn't drive through, and then he eats a couple hooks in the pocket, and then he lands a straight right off of his hook. And Nikolai Negumereanu plus 125, and Alexa Kamor plus 125, and Tanner Boser is minus 150. This is a little bit of a tough call, but I don't know how I like Tanner Boser at 205. I certainly don't like him as the favorite. Alexa Kamor, he does show signs of promise. And in that Nikolai fight, he was hitting with some big shots, but Nikolai can just eat punches for whatever reason. If Alexa Kamor lands a couple shots like that on Tanner Boser, I don't know how his chin's going to hold up, And Alexa Kamor, he's young. He's had some time to develop. So I'm going to take a shot on Alexa. And also, it's 205. 205 is weird. And Tanner Boser, terrible wrestling defense. Alexa Kamor can wrestle. Not great, but he can wrestle. So I'm going to take Alexa Kamor. The whole fight to go under 2.5 rounds, plus 115, not a bad call, but I'm going to go with Alexa on this one. 145, men's featherweight, the return of Diego Lopez, Fall Out Boy, taking on Gavin Governor Tucker. Gavin is coming off a couple-year-long layoff, and Diego Lopez coming off of that sensational performance against Movsar Ivloev. Should be a fun one. Gavin could get back on track with this one. Diego, he could have an amazing performance and get his name out there. Diego took on Movsar Ivloev his last fight. Short notice, by the way, like a week's notice. In the first round, he lands some leg kicks. He's able to stuff the takedown attempt, and then he rocks him with some counter hooks whenever he gets rushed. Then he gets taken out with an ankle pick, and he eats some ground and pound, but he throws up the triangle, but he's able to get an armbar attempt in there, a pretty decent armbar, and then he keeps the overhook on the ground, and he's always looking for some type of submission. Then in the second round, he eats the lead hook and an uppercut, but then he's able to land a counter hook, but then he misses with some loaded up hooks, and he gets touched with a lead hook at range, and he has his back up against the fence, and he kind of eats some shots there. Then he lands a right to the body, follows up with left to the head, but then he gets taken out with the double leg. He has wrist control, but then he eats some ground and pound there, and he's kind of focused a little too much on setting up the submission and eats punches in the meantime. But then in the third round, he eats some jabs and an elbow, but then he's able to land some counter hooks. But then he gets clinched with the underhook, but then he gets taken out with the double off the fence, and he gives up his back standing, but he rolls, and he's able to rip the Kimura attempt. Has a nice Kimura attempt on there, but then he rolls with the Kimura, and then he transitions to a knee bar with 10 seconds left, fully extended knee bar. I thought he was going to tap, but couldn't do it. But, he was slick. He was throwing up submission attempts. He did everything he could possibly do. He landed a couple of big shots. Very good performance on short notice. And then Gavin Tucker took on Billy Q, his last fight. So, actually, he took on Daniga. He got knocked out in 5 seconds. So, keep that in mind. But before that, he took on Billy Corntillo. In the first round, he clinches to the fence. He gets the outside trip, but he's not able to hold him down. Can't do much on the ground. But he's able to close the distance with the clinch, and he lands some hooks or some elbows, and then he gets able to get the underhooks, just kind of trying to land some big shots, get that underhook, but he lands a straight right and a head kick at range also. And then in the second round, he lands an overhand right and then followed up with a straight left, and he lands some straights in the pocket, but then he eats a couple of knees in the clinch, but then he's able to get his underhooks again and kind of maintain control. Then in the third round, he gets a couple foot sweeps in the clinch, whenever they're kind of going back and forth. Doesn't really capitalize on them, but he has those in his arsenal. Then he kind of backs out of range. He's able to land a nice check hook when he gets pressed. Then he gets a head and arm throw, transitions to a double leg, and ends the round on top. So, yeah, a pretty fun fight. He was able to keep pace with Billy Quarantillo, so that's pretty impressive. Gavin Tucker plus 135, Diego Lopes minus 160. I don't know how much Diego Lopes, how much that performance, because we saw with the Jack Della Maddalena fight, people coming in on short notice, sometimes they just do really well because it's hard to game plan for a new guy, no matter who you are, I think. So, but Gavin Tucker, we haven't seen him in a long time. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, and he's coming off that KO, a nasty KO. So I just hope Diego Lopez wasn't a flash in the pan. This line isn't crazy. Minus 160 is not terrible. I just don't know if he can't get the submission. I don't really know how that's going to work out. But he does land a couple of big shots. So I'm going to take a shot on Diego Lopez, the new guy. We'll see how he does. Minus 160 for the win, plus 225 for the submission. I think that's pretty good odds, but I'm going to go with Diego Lopes. Feature fight of the night, 205 pounds of men's light heavyweight. Dustin Jacoby taking on Kennedy Nzechukwu. Kennedy Nzechukwu looking to get in the rankings. Dustin Jacoby looking to hold his spot. But, yeah, should be a fun one. More of an opportunity for Kennedy Nzechukwu than is Dustin. Dustin falling on hard times as of late, trying to get back on the winning path. Should be a fun fight. Dustin Jacoby took on Azamat Murzakanov his last fight in the first round. He gets dropped with a straight right coming into him, kind of early. But he kind of hangs on the outside. He looks for some jabs and some straights, but then he gets pressed with some overhands and some hooks. But then he lands a 1-2 counter off of his hook. And then the second round, he tries to establish distance. He's looking for some jabs, but then he gets pressed with some straights and some hooks. Then he stuffs a double leg attempt, and he's able to clinch, gets the underhook. He's on the fence for a decent, but then he gets dropped with an overhand, kind of just standing at range. Then in the third round, he's able to land a lunge cross off his hook. Kind of hurts him a little bit. Starts landing some big shots. Murzakanov getting tired, but then he's able to stop the shot. And he's able to get the double off the fence. He lands some ground and pound, but then he keeps him clinched and keeps trying to get the double. There's only like a minute and a half left, and he needs a knockout. So really bad ring IQ. And, yeah, lost the fight, obviously. So not a good performance from him. And Kennedy Nzechukwu took on Devin Clark his last fight in the first round. He's able to defend the double, and then he clinches and he drags him down on the fence. Then he walks into a big overhand, and then he gets rocked and he eats a flurry up against the fence, and he kind of shells up, but he kind of does that sometimes. And he was okay. He's able to reverse the clinch. He lands a couple of knees and then some elbows and kind of turns the tide for the end of the first round. Then in the second round, he pressures him to the fence. He gets the tie clinch, rips some knees to the body. Then he's able to stuff the high single. And he gets the power guillotine, standing against the fence, gets a submission. He passes out. So, yeah, Kennedy Nzechukwu is a monster. Kennedy Nzechukwu minus 155, Dustin Jacoby plus 130. I'm going to go with Kennedy. I think it's his time. Dustin's a cleaner striker, but he's a little hesitant. And I think Kennedy, he's going to be able to find something some way, somehow. Don't exactly know what, but I think it's his time, and he's tricky. And, he's got power. So Dustin Jacoby doesn't really have a ton of power. And Kennedy, got a massive reach. I think he causes some problems. I think Dustin might win the first round, but I think Kennedy can take over in the second and the third round. And Kennedy by submission plus 900, not a bad one. I got Kennedy on this one. Co-main event of the evening, 115 pounds, women's strawweight. Jessica Andrade, number 5, taking on Tatiana Suarez, number 10. This is a massive fight for either lady. Tatiana Suarez looking to make a comeback. She wants to get that title as soon as possible. Jessica Andrade, good victory to gauge where she's at. Jessica Andrade falling on hard times. Got knocked out by Yao Jianan last time, and then lost to Erin Blanchfield. So she needs a win bad to reestablish that she's that person at this weight class. So we'll see. But it should be a fun fight either way. I'm very excited. This match can go a bunch of different ways. Andrade took on Erin Blanchfield, though, at 125. I think that's the most like Tatiana, because Erin can wrestle. In the first round, she gets pressed with some straight shots, but then she gets doubled to the fence. But she's able to defend the doubles initially. But then she loads up and she misses some hooks, and then she eats a couple counter crosses. But she's able to clip her and with a blitz of wild hooks. Then she lands an overhand over top of Erin straight in the pocket. And then in the second round, she kind of walks through the jabs to land some hooks. Then she throws the knee to the body, but then she gets taken down. She gets body locked and taken down with an inside trip. And then she gives up side control. And then she turns her back to get up, and Erin Blanchfield sinks in that rear naked choke and gets a submission. Like, what are you thinking? You can't just turn your back on Erin Blanchfield. So I don't know what that was. Bad ring IQ, but she just kind of goes wild and looks like she doesn't properly assess the situation. Sometimes it gets caught. So Tatiana Suarez took on Montana De La Rosa her last fight. This was at 125 as well. It's her comeback fight. In the first round, she gets double overs, and then she lets Montana have the body lock, but then she gets a 2-on-1 and takes it to the fence, and then gets the high C crackdown, covers the other hip. She gets into full guard. Then she's able to transition to the back, but then she stays on the single, and then she gets the underhook clinch up against the fence. Pretty good position, doesn't do much damage. Then in the second round, she gets an overhook with the collar tie, and then she gets the headlock, gets side control, and then she's able to spin around her back. She can't hold her on the back, but then she snaps down to the front headlock and pulls a guillotine, gets a submission. So, yeah. Maybe looked a little slow, but she's up a weight class, and she got it done after all that time off. Tatiana Suarez, minus 375. Jessica Andrade, plus 295. I really think Tatiana Suarez is probably the pick, but at this price tag, I'm not going to pick her. I'm going to pick Jessica Andrade, plus 295. Jessica Andrade can knock her out at any moment. Tatiana Suarez doesn't really have good striking. Jessica Andrade can stuff a takedown or two, and she really needs a win. I think she's going to be more motivated than ever. Also, it's women's MMA. Don't forget that. So I'm going to go with Jessica Andrade, plus 295. It might be a stupid pick. It might be wasting a pick, but I like that price tag, and, she can get it done. So I'm going to go with Jessica. Main event of the evening at 135 pounds, men's bantamweight. We got a classic high-level bantamweight matchup. Corey the Sandman Sandhagen at number 4, taking on Rob Font at number 7. Short notice replacement for Umar Nurmagomedov, but Corey Sandhagen was about to fight Umar, so he's a savage. So this fight's going to be awesome either way. It's going to be violent, and I'm excited. A huge opportunity for Rob Font. If he beats Corey Sandhagen, he's right back. He's one of the top 5 at the division, top of the heap. And then Corey Sandhagen, if he beats Rob Font, he's probably going to get a title shot because he deserves it, and he's beating a bunch of good guys, and he fights anybody. So Corey Sandhagen took on Marlon Vera his last fight in the first round. He pressures, and he throws some jabs and some leg kicks. He's able to land a counter lead hook. Then he throws an uppercut and then a straight right, jump knee to his single up against the fence, and then he gets the outside trip into half guard and goes to work with some nasty-ass elbows. Then in the second round, he lands a jab and a right hook up against the fence, and then he's able to land a left hook to the body. I love seeing the body work. He lands some lead uppercuts and then a straight, and he's able to get the double off the fence again into half guard, side control, more ground and pound. And then in the third round, he lands some jabs and some body kicks at range, but then he eats a couple leg kicks, gets pressed with the 1-2, no big deal. Then he gets pressure to the fence, and he's able to land a jab and an uppercut, and then he lands a left to the body, followed up with the right cross to the head, and then he backs up, and he kind of circles out of the range of the straight shots. Then in the fourth round, he keeps the pressure, he lands some jabs to the head and the body, then he kind of circles on the outside, then he eats a straight blitz while he's circling. That happens every now and then, but Corey Sandhagen by far landing the more volume, not really connecting flush, but he's doing work. Then in the fifth round, he gets a double early, shoots a double early on, and then he kind of just keeps on shooting to break the rhythm of Cheeto when he's getting pressed, because Cheeto needs a knockout at this point. Then he gets pressed, eats a few hooks at the end of the fight. That's going to happen. Cheeto is desperate, so. Yeah, and then Rob Font took on Adrian Yanez his last fight. In the first round, he kind of jabs at range, but then eats a hook whenever he's stepping in. They both kind of land jabs, and it's just kind of like who's going to drop. It's kind of like 50-50. Then Rob keeps the pressure, keeps stalking him a little bit, taking his ground. And then he lands him with an upper, and he's able to land with an uppercut in the collar tie, and then he lands a 1-2-1 combination. Then he kind of slips the hooks, and he lands a couple 1-2s, and then he drops them with the right hook whenever Adrian is kind of stepping in to load up. Adrian is kind of loading up in the pocket. Rob Font, jab, followed up with a right hook. And he just follows it up with some nasty ground and pound and gets it done. Rob Font, not really a knockout type of guy, but Adrian Yanez was trying to throw in the pocket with Rob Font and was just a little wild, a little too wide. Rob Font caught him, and Rob Font was back, baby. And then before that, though, he took on Marlon Vera, and tough performance from him. In the first round, he lands a leg kick and a 1-2. Then he lands a leg kick and a hook, and he throws up 1-2, followed up with an elbow. Then he lands some uppercuts from the collar tie. That's kind of his thing. Then he touches him with some jabs, kind of rips the body. Pretty good first round for him. Then in the second round, he's able to catch the kick. He's able to land an elbow off of that, and he presses with some 1-2s through Cheeto's guard, but they're not really getting through too much. Then he eats a body kick at range, but then he gets dropped with the lead hook whenever he's circling against the fence. And from this point on, he could possibly be winning the round, and Cheeto drops him with like a minute left to go every round. So I don't know what that's about, and that's kind of what happened to him against Jose Aldo. So, but then in the third round, he eats some jabs and teeps at range, but then eats a counter hook off of his jab. And then he's kind of hand fighting in the pocket, and then he starts ripping the body in the pocket, and he kind of keeps touching him with these jabs. It keeps the activity up, but he presses with some 1-2s to the fence, but then he eats a counter hook coming in, and then he eats a knee to the head when he's backing up and gets dropped from there. He eats a bunch of ground and pound. So just tough, man. And then the fourth round, he gets dropped with the side kick to the face toward the end, and it's a pretty even round before that. And then in the fifth round, he lands some straight combos and some lead hooks. Then he gets countered with some hooks in the pocket. Then he gets rocked with a side face kick again at the end of the round. So I don't know, man. It's pretty hard to watch, but he looks good. It's just he keeps getting damaged off of these shots for some reason. Rob Font plus 295, Corey Sandhagen minus 375. I don't like this line at all. Rob Font definitely has a chance to win, but I think Corey Sandhagen is just too technically sound. Rob Font does have the reach advantage, so that's a possibility, but Corey Sandhagen mixes his wrestling in there as of late. Rob Font was getting taken down by Cody Garbrandt, so I don't know. Rob Font could definitely win, but I don't think he's going to hit him with one shot and knock him out. And, this line might just be asking for a big upset here. I just like Corey Sandhagen. I like the trajectory he's on. I think he's going to be able to land his shots at range. He's going to be able to move out of Rob Font's shots. And if they get in the pocket, I don't think he's going to get in the pocket and swing with Rob Font, and we'll see. I think Corey Sandhagen's going to have more activity. But I'm going to go with Corey Sandhagen. If I'm wrong, I deserve it. But Sandhagen by submission for some reason, plus 600. I don't know why, but I like that one. But I'm going to go with Corey Sandhagen. All right, everybody. Thanks for riding with me. Appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe. Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all that stuff. Did all my research. Kind of a weird card. A lot of big underdogs. So hopefully I picked them correctly. But let's see some upsets. Let's see some violence. Let's see some profits. Good luck, everyone.